Hello, hello, hello. Back again for more Dungeons and Dragons. And yes, that's Lost Mine of Phandelver. We're going to be talking about the Lost Mine of Phandelver. We're going to be talking about a goblin that's really talked about, and there's really not an awful lot of information on the character. So I thought I would do a video on that particular topic for today. I'm just doing my sound check, allowing people time to get into the room, and then once everything is working fine. But it sounds like it's working pretty good. You will find the start time for this video down in the description. The live stream is going to go unlisted eventually, and that means it's only going to be accessible by patrons, but the edited version will eventually go up and people can come back and watch it. So if you jump into the live stream and think you come back later, you might find that it's not accessible, and a lot of the Q&A at the end of this live stream won't be accessible. So just a warning. Now, if you haven't been part of my live streams before, you'll find that I do everything. I present everything first, and then I open it up for questions and answers. Sound is good. F Hubba, how's it going? Hi, James. And yes, we are in the right place for today. And obviously, I've got everything figured out this time around. So what I want you to do is settle back, get comfortable, and let's... Hi, Darren, how's it going? And we'll talk about Yeemik, because that's the topic for today. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5e. And oh my, yes, that means we're going to do a Lost Mine of Phandelver Dungeon Master Guide. We aren't just going to talk about goblins. We're going to talk about a specific goblin, and in this case, we're talking about Yeemik. That's right, Yeemik, the Goblin Leader. Not an awful lot of information on this character. I'll make it clear now as we proceed that this is a Lost Mine of Phandelver Dungeon Master Guide. It's not a player Dungeon Master Guide, or should I say a player guide for the Lost Mine of Phandelver. So if you're a player, you need to go and watch one of my other videos rather than this video. Okay, first off, I want you to turn to page 10. Yep, 10. Page 10. Page 10 to page 11, there's a very small amount of information on Yeemik. In fact, in terms of the Lost Mine of Phandelver, it's not as bad as the likes of Gundren Rockseeker, but it's pretty slim. Slim pickings, I have to say. Yeemik is the Goblin Leader. He is the second in command of Cragmore Hideout, the location. And I don't think he particularly likes the idea that he is second in command, because I suspect he was first in command at some point. We just don't know exactly when. As I said, there literally is very little information on this NPC, this non-player character, Yeemik. There's maybe something in the vicinity of 5 to 7 goblins that I suspect are loyal to Yeemik, but most of the goblins in area or location 6 of Cragmore Hideout are loyal to him, and I suspect the 2 goblins at the front of the cave are also loyal to Yeemik. Those closer to Clarg more likely to be his lackeys. So therefore, he doesn't have total control over the location he currently resides in, unfortunately for him. How sad, too bad. Okay, so right now, Yeemik has been charged by Clarg to secure and guard Sildar Hallwinter, which he's been doing a pretty good job of. Yeemik has bound Sildar with rope, and he's been beating him relentlessly, tormenting the poor man, until really he's sort of nothing more but a shell of what he was before. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? Now, if the player's characters show up to rescue Sildar Hallwinter or attack Yeemik's forces, the leader grabs Sildar and he will threaten to kill him. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's actually in the adventure. It actually states that, so it's not something I'm making up. If the party try to bargain with Yeemik, that's a mistake. If they try to bargain with Yeemik to save Sildar's life, Sildar will try to warn them. But unfortunately for them, the goblin can't be trusted. Sildar knows this. Certainly Yeemik knows that he can't be trusted because he's not trustworthy. Absolutely not. But this will result in Yeemik trying to beat or gag Sildar to stop him passing on this information. So expect to play that out in some way. And it's entirely possible it might lead to Sildar's death if Yeemik feels that that's necessary, particularly if things aren't going the way he wants it to go. Now, Yeemik will kill with a knife. Now, he can use his knife or blade to do the job, or he can shove Sildar off the side if a fight continues or sort of progresses. Now, make sure when you place Yeemik that Yeemik is very close to Sildar, so there's no real way of the players getting in there, ambushing the group and taking out all of the goblins fairly quickly. And you don't want Yeemik having to run up the stairs to get to Sildar. So not a very good maneuver as far as I'm concerned. So try not to have that set up in that in that way. He should be on the ledge with Sildar. Now, Yeemik wants Clarg, the new boss, dead, disposed of, ousted, out of there. He's a problem as far as Yeemik is concerned. Totally understand that. You don't want to really have your position supplanted by a bugbear who's pretty aggressive. I've already done a video on Clarg as it is. Now, the goblin leader would do it himself, but he won't. It's out of fear. He fears Clarg, and he also fears King Groll, who is the bugbear who resides over at Cragmore Castle. A battle or a fight with a bugbear is always a terrible idea, and it's not something that Yeemik is likely to do. So I wouldn't play that out if I was you. Yeemik can be convinced to release Sildar by providing, I would say, he will certainly provide them with information and release Sildar, or pretend to release Sildar, if the party agrees to kill Clarg or remove him from the world as we know it. But he will betray them, absolutely will betray them, whether that is through forcing them to pay a heavy ransom for Sildar, or simply killing Sildar anyway and then disappearing and never to be seen again. Certainly that's another way you could play it out if you wanted to. Or simply attacking the party, but only if they seem weak enough that they can be taken. If they still look quite powerful and strong and healthy, that would not be a smart move. This particular goblin is very, very clever. He's made a few mistakes over time, but certainly smart enough to know that that would be a stupid thing to do, trying to take out on the party. If they can take out Clarg, what's the likelihood of Yeemik and his goblins taking out this party who's just taken out one of the most powerful bugbears he knows of? So hence, it's not something he's likely to do. Okay, so what sort of information, if the party do decide to take on Clarg for Yeemik, what sort of information can Yeemik provide them with? Well, if you turn to page 8, it actually lists, there's a sidebar there that says what the goblins know. This is where you start reciting and basically to sort of, I would just read out all the information. I wouldn't get too complicated about it. I wouldn't get too fancy about things. You can just read out that information. So these are the sorts of things that Yeemik can reveal. He can tell them that there are about fewer than 20 goblins currently dwelling within the lair, that their leader is a bugbear named Clarg, which of course he wants them to dispose of. He can also explain to them that he answers to King Groll, who is the chief of the Cragmore tribe, who dwells in Cragmore Castle, which means he can give basic directions to Cragmore Castle if the players request it. Now, would he do this? I think he would. It's about 20 miles northeast of Cragmore Hideout in the Neverwinter Woods. Now, the reason being is he has no intentions of ever going near Cragmore Castle. This is Yeemik, and I'll explain to you, there's a lot of information here, of which I have had to make up quite a bit as it happens. But right now we're dealing with the stuff that's definitely in the adventure. So those are the sorts of things he's most likely to sort of reveal. He can say that Clarg received a message not so long ago, and that message essentially stated that the goblins were to waylay individuals travelling along the Tribor Trail. It's not good pickings along the Tribor Trail, but he's been told that there is like a message from an individual by the name of the Black Spider. He does not know that the Black Spider is Nesna, who will pay the Cragmores for watching out for a dwarf named Gundren Rockseeker. Capture him, send him and anything that he has with him to the Black Spider, and in the process of doing that, which is exactly what they've done, they've passed, the dwarf is gone. They're only keeping Sildar as a prisoner, who is eventually going to wind up being eaten. He's in the eating cave. And yes, Yeemik and his goblins are just working out all of they'll probably beat him till he's dead, and then eventually put him in a pot and dine on his bones and flesh. So he can tell them that that's where the map and Gundren has gone, to Cragmore Castle. And that all of that was prearranged with King Groll, and this is what's taken place. Now, other than that, that's essentially all the information that he's likely to pass on to the player's characters. With regard to other aspects of the adventure in terms of other NPCs or monsters or creatures in the area, I wouldn't actually reveal that information, and I don't think that Yeemik necessarily knows that information anyway, so I wouldn't go into that if I were you. Okay, so what else do I have for you today? Because right now you've really only covered all the things you could find in the adventure yourself, which isn't very hard to do. What do we know about Yeemik? Well, what I know about Yeemik is a goblin, which means he's not very strong. He knows he's not very strong, but he's very smart and cunning and clever. That's what a goblin's like. And if you're going to be a leader in a goblin tribe of any kind, you will have developed those sorts of skills, and Yeemik has definitely done that in some way. He is motivated by greed, power, and has a serious degree of malice. So in other words, he enjoys causing pain and death and destruction, like many goblins do, and he's certainly a different level of it. Remember, if you are a leader of a goblin, you have to be the most ruthless individual in that clan, and that's exactly what Yeemik is. Yeemik is suspicious of literally everybody. You can't trust Yeemik, because Yeemik believes that nobody can be trusted, that everybody's out for themselves, and therefore, you do what you want, you get what you can for yourself, and that is it. Ideally, Yeemik would want his freedom back, because right now he doesn't have his freedom. What he has is a skeleton of what he used to have. He used to be a leader of a large portion of the Cragmore tribe. And now, of course, King Groll comes into it and makes things more complicated for him. So what he wants is his freedom back, and he wants to lead his section of the tribe. So in other words, breaking off from this pooling of the Cragmore tribes, because the Cragmores are actually a collection of goblins rather than a combined force. That's a result of the work that King Groll has done. And I've done a video on King Groll for those of you who are curious about what I have to say about him. Okay, he has no bond whatsoever. Truly, he has no bond to anybody, anything whatsoever, just to himself. And that means that includes King Groll. He is not loyal to King Groll. He does so because out of fear. King Groll is a bugbear, and the bugbears are really sort of moved in. They are great to have there for their sheer power, but he's lost a lot of station in life. Therefore, Yeemik wants that back. He's also had a rather scandalous history, which has resulted in losing his leadership to King Groll's hands. King Groll is responsible for supplanting him, and for him resulting in being second in command, while Clark gets the leadership of the hideout and the job of raiding along the Tribor Trail, something that Yeemik really despises. So he knows that there's no way he can really have any kind of interaction with King Groll if Clark is killed. And also, he never really wanted to go back and be part of that anyway, simply because he wants his own way, his own path in life that he has control of rather than somebody else. Now, when it comes to Yeemik and strategy and tactics, Yeemik is not a fighter. Unless he has leverage over somebody else, which allows him the upper hand and control over them in some way, he would never engage in a fight openly. If there's an ambush set up with the chance of success being extremely high, then Yeemik would engage in a fight. And in no way whatsoever do I think that Yeemik would engage in a fight and fight to the death. If he thought he could save himself, he absolutely would. And if that was at the expense of other goblins, no problems with that whatsoever. Rather a nasty individual, if you ask me. Now, because Yeemik knows that King Groll will replace Clarg, not with him, but with another bugbear, which he absolutely hates. He despises the bugbears. He knows that he can't just sit here in Cragmore hideout, even if it gets cleared out and Clarg is destroyed or eliminated, because he's only going to get replaced. Not only that the collection of takings they have sitting in this cave is actually not that great. The pickings would be much better along the high road. So what he really wants to do is lead his goblins, this is his goal, take those goblins that he can that are still loyal to him, set out, ditch the cave because it's really not useful anymore, and also because it's also known by King Groll and the other goblins of Cragmore, disappear literally and just take the rich roads of High Road and pick along them raiding, lining his own pocket and essentially setting up a new tribe, you might say, of Cragmores, away from the rest, away from prying eyes and things like that. Now, what about something like the dragon and other NPCs? Would Yeemik know anything about them? Honestly, I don't think that Yeemik necessarily would. It's really up to you how you play that out. I'm not really going to go into that in a lot of detail. I feel like that's actually something that you as the Dungeon Master can do without my feedback. I've done many videos on Venomfang, Agatha, Hummincost, all that sort of stuff already. So I don't think it's really necessary for me to go over that again. It's not really going to play up any more than it was before. Now, I will say right now, for those of you who are unaware, I have a huge number of videos for the Lost Mine of Phandelver. These are Dungeon Master guides. They are designed for you to use. They cover a lot of the NPCs, the major NPCs, villains, and NPCs the players' characters would interact with who are not villains. And there's a lot of material there. So you're welcome to go and check out those videos at some point. And that certainly supports the channel and supports me continuing doing more videos like this, which would be a good thing. I have a Patreon page where you can support me there. You get access to all of the live streams that nobody else gets access to once they go unlisted on the Patreon page if you want to see all the questions and answers at the end. And you get priority on the videos that I make. And my patrons right now, they want lots of Lost Mine of Phandelver, Curse of Strahd, Rise of Tiamat, and basic rule stuff. So that's what we're doing right now. I also have affiliate links to the book depository and Amazon, and you'll find those down in the description. Make sure to share, like, and subscribe, and hit the bell button when I go live. Okay, that'll notify you when I go live and when I publish new videos, and I do a lot of video content. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Okay, I'm not gone. Hashtag question. Hashtag question, so I don't miss out on your questions. I just need a drink of water though. And I will be back. You will get to see my face. Okay, so hopefully this answered a lot of the questions people had. But if there are questions that I have not covered, this is your opportunity to cover them now, okay? Because once this live stream goes unlisted, which it will once everybody leaves, that'll be it. Just the patrons will have access to it. So let's get this going. Let's see what we've got here. I believe, is my camera? No, I'm going to move on to my face. There we go, face. And do I have glasses? I'm sure I did have glasses. Did I pull my glasses out? I don't think I'd pull my glasses out. Bear with me. I'll get my glasses out so I can actually read the text on the screen. Oh, they're not really good for reading up close, but better for a long distance, so that's why I'm using them. Okay, so hashtag question so I don't miss anything. Okay, so I've already said hi to James. F Hubbers here. Darren's joining the party. Hi, how's it going, Matt? What else? Tasty Basie. How's it going, Tasty Basie? Okay, Matt, what do you got here? It's funny, in a cosmic way, in medieval times, the Dungeon Master was the guy responsible for torturing, punishing, and extracting information from the prisoners. That's true. That's very, very true. I hadn't thought about that. It's a kind of scary thought, isn't it? But, hey, it is what it is. We're using it for a different purpose in Dungeons & Dragons. Although I think some Dungeon Masters do consider it a... don't call them the Dungeon Master, call them the Torturer. Or the... I don't know, the testicle squeezer. Who knows? One of those things. Anyway, what's that? Darren Fred has the best art. You are welcome. Look, I've been collecting a lot of it. A lot of it is repeat, not all of it. There was some new artwork this time round. Trust me, I found some new slides. I didn't just use the same stuff over and over again. I did add new artwork. Okay. Jerry, how's it going, Jerry? I just finished this chapter this weekend. My players caught the goblin that was initially running in the ambush. Yep, okay. And convinced him with promise of gold and glory. He killed Clark, then replaced Yeemik. Really? That's really funny. I love that. I think that's a fantastic story. Wonderful. No, the Dungeon Master... To be fair, the Dungeon Master is supposed to play the monsters, adjudicate the rules, and advise the players on how to play the game if they are struggling with it. Dungeons & Dragons is not the game of chess. Although at times it kinds of feel... Look, you always present the illusion that you are against them, but you're not actually against them. Dungeon Master, not against players, there to simply make it more fun. Right? So, hashtag question, otherwise I will miss you. I agree that only difference is now the DM gives all the information. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Okay, Dr. Koboltnik. How's it going, Dr. Koboltnik? I'm actually DMing a game that is 7, mostly new players. Okay, good. They ran into the cave and spent most of their time playing with wolves while the goblins on the bridge ran to hit the flood lever. Well, which is exactly what you should be doing. You should be flooding them as often as you possibly can. So I totally understand that. Makes perfect sense. Hashtag question if you want a question answered. And be quick because I will be going very shortly. I need a drink of water. Gives people time to type in things. It gives me time to, I don't know. Oh, I have a merch shelf. Would you believe it? The merch shelf should be going active today. My brother's going to help me with it. I finally achieved all the things I needed to do to get the merch shelf done, which means you're going to wind up with a whole lot of merchandise on my channel that is probably very tongue-in-cheek, and I've been working on little designs here and there, but I will slowly release stuff once everything is ready to go. I have some very cool ideas, and I will certainly do some videos on those topics. Okay, so back to the Lost Mine of Phandelver. Doctor. Okay, the doctor's in the house. They ended up retreating. I want to send Yeemik and his other goblins to do the truce. What do you think? Okay, so I don't know that Yeemik would necessarily want to form it. If they've taken out Clark, I think Yeemik would... Unless the party are badly wounded and depleted, I don't think Yeemik would risk attacking them unless he has an ambush set up. And I wouldn't say the cave is a very good location for that. outside of the cave is a much better location because there's foliage. They can use their hit and run tactics, which I've done videos on tactics for goblins. For those of you who don't know, there's plenty of information on how to make that work and do it really well, and cause all sorts of strife. So I think he's more likely to take what goblins he has, leave the cave, disappear to the high road and set up his raids along there and just make his money that way. I don't think that Yeemik has any desire to stay in Cragmore hideout, simply because he's just going to get replaced by another bugbear. Okay? He got replaced by Clark at one point. He's just going to get replaced by somebody else later on. Because what's going to happen if Yeemik were to go to King Groll? King Groll is going to say, well, what happened to Clark? And then King Groll is going to get suspicious that that Yeemik is responsible in some way. So it's way too dangerous. I don't think he would do that. Oh, thank you very much. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. It's not me. It's not me. It's you. Yeah. Keep hydrated, homie. Yeah, I'm trying to. Otherwise, I'll lose my voice. It's one of the reasons why I don't do funny voices, because it puts so much strain on my voice that I lose it. And it's winter here, so it's quite harsh. It's very hard to keep the voice going. Thank you, Tyler. I'm glad you like the hat. I have many hats. I'm looking at about 4 of them and about 3 cases of hats as it happens. I've been told I should be making videos on taking low budget, taking the piss out of Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I would love to do that. I just have to figure out how I would do that with just me, because there's nobody else to do it, really. I would have to play all the parts. And I would also have to figure out how to find the time. Maybe I'll do that on my days off. Who knows? We'll see. I know I've been itching to do it with my sister Rose for ages, but I just haven't got round to doing it. Okay, questions about Lost Mine of Phandelver. Or if you have questions about just dungeon mastering, #question. Okay? Get them out there before I disappear. I used #question. Yes, hashtag the question. Sean, I entered a question. Are you able to see it? Ah, that is interesting. I'm looking, Sean. There we go. Found it. Encountered. Paths. Okay, yes, there it is. I've seen it. It came out later than I expected. It didn't go #question, but here we go. I'm running Lost Mine of Phandelver starting this week. Okay, I'm running Lost Mine of Phandelver starting this week. I would love the characters to encounter Yeemik before Clark. Unfortunately, there is potentially 2 paths to Clark's cave before getting to Yeemik. Well, what are you going to do? Well, you're not going to call the Ghostbusters, Sean. What you're going to do is you're going to put something in that back door that they can't get past. That would create a lot of noise, and then of course they're going to encounter Yeemik. That would be the easiest way to do it. If you want them to encounter Yeemik, then just fill up that hole, or have Yeemik up the front talking with the goblins who are on guard duty. I just don't feel that he would do that. I feel like him going out the front is unlikely. He would send somebody else to do that. And he would stay close to Sildar Hallwinter, simply because he knows he's likely to have visitors. It's entirely possible somebody will track them down. I don't think that he would be oblivious to that possibility. So, Sean, did that answer your question? If it did not answer your question, just type in your question and just go question and I'll get to it, okay? I think I've answered what you were talking about. Okay, right, here we go. Jerry Zunga. I'm planning on possibly have a band of goblins help the group at one point or another as sort of an alliance that they can forge. Yeah, well, yes, you could do that. I don't think there's anything... Look, you can do anything you like. With the Lost Mine of Phandelver, you can do absolutely anything you like. Just because I make a video or somebody else makes a video or there's something in the adventure book doesn't mean you have to follow it. Just ignore it. do your own thing. That's perfectly fine. So not an issue. I don't know that Yeemik is necessarily a good choice, just because I feel like he's more likely to betray the party at some point. Although you could still use Yeemik if you wanted to and have him betray them further down the trail, much further on. You know, build up a bit of trust, get them to a point where they're absolutely convinced that these goblins are their buddies, and then turn tail on them and make it all come apart on them. I do not see your question. Yeah, it didn't come up. I don't know why. Try at Fred. If it's not going hashtag question, usually the hashtags work and I spot them pretty quickly. Yeah, just post the question again if it didn't show up. Just put the question in. Okay, all right, here we go. Moving along. Zucchini. Hello, Zucchini. How are you, Zucchini? One thing I did with Yeemik was I made him the recurring villain, since he escaped in my game. Yes, I think having him escape is a really good plan, but only if he can escape. You know, he's sort of, there's no back door in this location, and you could say, well, yes, the back door is, there's two paths, but it's not really a proper back door. It's not a back door that doesn't wind up going through the front door, so it's not really a back door. And I prepared 1 and 2. I replaced Dib and Yeemik. Okay, cool. I like that. That's good. New video next. Usually worth watching. Okay, Monarch's Factory, new video next. I'm not too sure what Monarch's Factory is all about. We'll see. We'll see. I have no idea what you're talking about. You've lost me. Okay. All right. Okay, Paul. How's it going, Paul? It's been a while, hasn't it? The players don't know which path leads to Yeemik first, so just announce when the players pick a route that Yeemik is actually there. Route B has Clark. So, yeah, block up Route B if you want to. And, you know, you can, once they've had a chance to talk with Yeemik, you can have, you know, maybe the blockage is released and, you know, there's a whole lot of rocks that fall out of that hole. Who knows? It's up to you. Or you can leave it blocked so they can't circumvent everything. I think that's actually, to a large extent, probably a smart idea. Hi, Jerry. Thank you for your videos, Fred. Have absolutely enjoyed them. I'm glad you have enjoyed the videos, Jerry. I have enjoyed making them. Honestly, it's much more fun for me to make videos on the Lost Mine of Phandelver and these characters than rule videos. I still do them, and they need to be done, and they need to be clear, but I love doing these videos, and they are super popular, which is another reason why I love doing them. Not as popular as character building, apparently. There seem to be a lot of, or the best of, the worst of. I've been doing a few of those myself, but I've been twisting them a little bit. Anyway, Sean. Thanks, Fred. That was basically the idea I had. Maybe a goblin outside, sympathetic to Yeemik. The characters could interrogate him, find out some intel before entering the cave. Yeah, that's only if the players' characters don't kill the guards in the front, which I think you might find they might well do. Casey Brooks, how's it going? I put a door barred on the inside of Clark's room so the PCs would be less inclined to go there first. Fair enough, you could put a door on there, or you could just block it with rocks. There's no reason why you can't do that either. Paul, it's like Schrodinger's cat. Put a call in, Schrodinger's mimic. You never know which monster it is until you pick it. Fair enough. Absolutely. Look, Lost Mine of Phandelver, do what you want with it. If it makes it more interesting for you and the players, do it. Don't just play it the way it is. You know, you don't. And there's nothing wrong with just playing it what you have there and doing no extra work. So if you're a dungeon master and you're feeling really guilty, like you haven't done enough preparation and you haven't prepared enough characters and done enough research, bollocks, you know? Just play the game. Don't worry about these sorts of things. These videos are nice, but honestly, you don't have to worry about the sort of stuff. You can keep it really simple if you really want to. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, I need a drink of water. Right, okay, so here we go. What's that, Sean? The locked door with Yeemik holding a key could work too. Yeah, that's actually pretty smart. Yeemik might have a key that leads to the back door that gets to Clark, so you can circumvent everything else. I guess the biggest problem is that chute's actually quite difficult to climb, and only one individual can climb up there at a time. I've talked about this before, so that could be a bit of a problem. But you know, you can take out the curve and just have it be a ramp that they can walk up. Just change it. Okay, question. Oh, pardon me. Bit of gas going on there. Okay, sorry. Okay, Doctor, what do you got here? Question. Kobanik. Should I add more monsters and change things or challenge things for a larger party? No, I wouldn't bother. I made goblin arrows have 6 goblins to test them. Yeah, but if you play out the first ambush, the chances are the players will, unless they use cover and readied actions, they'll never be able to establish exactly where the goblins are, and therefore they will probably get pin-cushioned and destroyed because they can't see the goblins. The goblins will have advantage. They're likely going to have surprise. Ongoing rounds. If I had played out that particular encounter and done it properly, almost all of the players' characters, chances are they would have been decimated. So I don't think that's really necessary. Remember, it's an introductory adventure. The first section of encounters should be to help them learn the game. If you're dealing with experienced people, then change things. Give monsters more hit points. But at level 1, level 1 play, even for an experienced player, is pretty deadly. It doesn't take very much to take down a first level character, and they're playing at first level. But you can ignore me. You do not have to take my advice. Okay, Paul. I like the key idea, a good chance for roleplay instead of mindless combat. Well, yeah, it is. It's a good chance for roleplay. It certainly would change the way that whole environment is run, because usually people just go in there and just kill everything. Video game, you remember, a lot of our people are coming from video games. They don't know anything else, okay? A lot of people don't know anything else. Okay, Matt, at Fred, if you do a character build, please do the monk. I love monks, and I do, Matt, but I don't know that I would do a build for a monk. If I was going to show any kind of character build to anybody, it's going to be multi-classed. And it's more likely, if you're going to get a character build out of me, it's more likely to be a cleric wizard, because I love playing wizards, and something like the cleric is incredibly powerful, and only foolish people think that playing a cleric is a bummer, because it's not. And you combine a cleric with a wizard, and it's all good. It's all good. You can't really go too wrong there. Okay, Doctor. At level 1, they got trashed. Laugh out loud. Yeah, they would. Level 1 characters are going to get trashed pretty bad. They barely made it out into the cave at all. Yeah, I can believe that. Level 1 is tough. Once they get to level 2 or 3, things are a little bit easier. There's a bit of time. They've got a few rounds to make decisions. But at level 1, first round, you could wind up with 1 round of combat, and that's it. Oops, that was quick. Goblins don't do a lot of damage, but with advantage, the chances of a critical. And if they target the lightly armoured individuals, which goblins would do with their bows, you don't get up there close. That would be stupid. It can make a mess. What's there? Plus, as soon as they saw wolves, they wanted to have pets. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It happened with some of the groups I ran. I've heard of individuals who not just made friends with the wolves, they still have them. They're tagging along with them throughout the entire adventure, which is crazy stuff. But hey, F Hubber's going Druid Wizard. Druid Wizard would be pretty cool. You'd have to make sure you could get access to wild shape, so you'd have to put a few levels in to Druid before you're going Wizard. I feel like the Wizard is still one of the most powerful classes. It is, as far as I'm concerned. It's just not very good when it gets up close to things. But you can change that with something like a Cleric or a Druid, multi-classed. Okay, we won't get into character building because that would be just off topic. Many actions wasted later. Well, that tends to happen. Most evil Druid you will ever meet is a Druid Mage, School of Necromancy. Okay, I'll go with that, F Hubber. Yep. What's that, Doctor? They just wanted to play with doggies, and I fully and I full on said, I'm so sorry for when I take them from you. Yeah. Well, it tends to happen. Look, I should do a video called My Dungeon Master Killed My Animal Companion Again. I should do a video on that topic because it happens so much. I have been responsible for doing that. Although I really like players who want to run the Beastmaster. I think it's a great class, and I would like them to have, I'd like more people to feel like they could play that class and not have things unravel on them. And I should talk about how I approach the Ranger. Oh, there is more than one Ranger, bro. There's more than one Ranger. And I feel like the Beastmaster can be adjusted to sort things out and make it more fun for people. Even if Wizards of the Coast has decided that they won't pursue a fix for the Ranger or add a different Ranger build. I think they have sort of got lost on that. Look, I've been responsible for killing a lot of animal companions. As a Dungeon Master, yep. Well, because it's either that or you attack the player's character. I would much prefer that the animal companions die than the player's character die. So I always focus on the animal companions first. F Hubber. I usually avoid hurting the animals if they are not significant to combat. Yeah. If they are out of the combat range, I don't bother focusing on them. But if they put them into harm's way, yeah, they get targeted. Yeah. But look, that doesn't mean that I don't think that animal companions aren't a good idea. Small parties, small groups use animal companion. Great idea. But make sure you level it up. Don't just use it straight from the monster manual or the back of the book. It doesn't work. Okay, so I think we've covered all the questions regarding the Lost Mine of Phandelver. We will be talking about the Lost Mine of Phandelver a lot more. I know people are waiting for Glassstaff, for me to talk about Glassstaff. I'm still really reluctant to do that video. It just feels like I'm coming to the end if I do that video, so I haven't done it. I will do it, and I have started writing it, but it needs to be right. It's all the information for him is scattered everywhere, and there's a lot of stuff you have to read between the lines. Yeemik is a bit easier because there's hardly anything, and it's all in one place, essentially. You find your information on page 8 for what he knows. You find out a tiny bit about Yeemik on page 10 and 11, and that's it. So pretty easy to sort of deal with. Okay. I don't know what that symbol means, but I'm assuming that's a good thing. If that's a good thing, awesome. So this is the last live stream for today. If you want to re-watch the live stream once I stop, don't jump out of here because it will go unlisted and only be available to patrons. Therefore, you won't get access to all of the Q&A at the end, and the edited version will get put up at a later date. And I'm going to say what I normally say, and that is, where's my little screen? I need a screen. I feel like I need a funny screen. Go with a funny screen. There we go. I'm going to say what I normally say, and that is, have a good day, good night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Look after your family, your friends, and yourself. And play lots of Dungeons and Dragons. Don't watch so much. Just go and play the game. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.